There it is, the OB, the original Bunjie. Have crossbows gotten better than this guy, huh? Well, let's look at them in terms of smaller, faster, lighter, denser, cheaper, right? As technology improves, it tends to get smaller, faster, lighter, denser, cheaper. This crossbow, $550 back in 2010. I wrote about that in my first book, The Death by Bunjie Crossbows Story. Now, we've been looking at crossbows everywhere from 10-point, the real expensive stuff, all the way down to the more affordable crossbows, the Walmart variety, the Killer Instincts and some Barnetts, stuff like that. We're really living in the golden age of crossbows, and that's kind of been my point in these last few videos. A lot of people were complaining that I showed these videos of these real expensive crossbows. I can't afford them. Crossbows have gotten too expensive and all that jazz. I totally get that, right? Those crossbows are outside of my price range. I'm not going to spend that kind of money. Even if I had that kind of money laying around, I wouldn't spend it on a crossbow most likely, right? So I totally get that. Some folks do, and I'm glad they do because they help that technology get tested. They help that technology move along and move forward. And my point has been, and I don't think everybody's picking up on this, right? I don't think everybody's picking up on this. But my point has been that these crossbows, all of this technology trickles down and eventually it will reach all of us. To prove that point, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. We're going to look and see. But I'm going to look at crossbows as they've evolved over the going on 15 seasons now that I've been hunting with a crossbow. Specifically, we're going to look at smaller, denser, lighter, faster, cheaper, right? That book that I read a couple years back talks about how technology improves, how technology changes. We're looking for things in crossbow technology. Are they smaller, faster, lighter, denser, cheaper? And specifically, let's put those stats right up here on the screen, right? The OB is 36 inches wide, 37.5 inches long, 305 feet per second with a 350 grain arrow, generating 72 foot-pounds of kinetic energy and 0.474 slugs. That's really like compound bow stats, right? It is in this day and age. We're not looking for anything along those lines today in 2024 when we're making this video. That was acceptable in 2010. It's not acceptable now. If you want that, you can go hunt with a compound bow or something, right? 7 pounds with the scope, right? That's what that crossbow weighed. Now you add stuff, you add that sound dampening equipment, it jacks the weight right up. You add some rubber on, it's going to push the weight up a little bit, stuff like that, right? It does not have features like a crank, no anti-dry fire, and no finger guards. That goes on there as well. But it cost $550 back in 2010. That's pretty cool. So these are the stats we're going to be comparing that crossbow to when we look at modern crossbow offerings. All right, I got the trusty laptop here. Look at this. Look at that. Isn't that a beautiful picture? This is Bunjie 3.0, the Scorpion Death Stalker, ready to go. I took this picture on state game lands. You can see the sun setting there. It's just perfect. And moments after I took this picture, a doe came up out of here, over here, and she stood right here and I shot her. That was my only deer I've taken on state game lands, and my daughter, the taxidermist, mounted it. It's right back there. How cool is that? I was very proud of the fact that it's a state game lands deer that I took, and it's a very old doe too. It was a very big old doe. Pretty cool. Now, I paid $550 for that crossbow back in 2010. A lot of time has passed, going on 15 seasons now with that old, slow crossbow. Even killed 2 deer with it last year and shot a woodchuck at 81 yards with that crossbow. Pretty cool. But what if we had that $550 and adjusted it for inflation to find out what that would be today? $1 in 2010 has the same purchasing power as $1.38 in 2024. Over the 14 years, this is a change of 38 cents. So it's gone up. That's inflation, right? We all know about inflation. We all know what inflation is, right? We're all experiencing inflation. So we'll take that $1.38 and we're just going to do some quick math. We're going to take the $550 that I spent on Bunjie and multiply that by 1.38, enter, and that tells us $759. $759. So that is our budget, right? When we're looking at these crossbows today, our budget is $759 because that would be the 2024 version of Bunjie price-wise, right? If you can get a package for $750, that's $550 back in 2010. That's how prices have gone up. So what can we get for $759? Let's start by looking at Excalibur crossbows, and it's already auto-filled. It comes right up. Look at the Rev X. We'll click on that. I am excited about this crossbow. In fact, that's my next video. When I'm done with this video today, I'm going to do a video on the Rev X from Excalibur and look at that one as well. Very interested in that crossbow, but whoa, we are not in our price range. We have exceeded our budget. $1,599, $1,600 for that Excalibur crossbow. Now, in all fairness, that's their high-end crossbow. That's their flagship crossbow now. So we're looking at cheaper offerings. We can go and see, and I don't think these are going to fit the bill. We can look at, like, for example, the Micro 380. A couple years ago, I really liked that crossbow, but $1,099, that's still out of our price range. We'll keep looking here at the crossbows. The Micro Extreme, I think all of these are going to be out of our price range. We'll drop down here, $949, we're getting better. So you take the paint job off, saving yourself $150 or something, right? And then we have the Suppressor Extreme, $12.99, not gonna cut it. We can go over here to the Mag 340, and what do we got? $7.99. Okay, so the Mag 340, which is a speed that was readily available in 2010, from this company, going back 15 years, it's $800. It's out of our budget. It's beyond the price. You can get these probably, there's deals online, that sort of thing. So maybe you could do that. The Mag Air is our last option from Excalibur, and it is $579. This is below our budget. It's a lot cheaper. In fact, it's only a little bit more expensive than Bunjie was 2010 prices, right? So this goes back. Now here too, here's the problem. You look at this crossbow, and we are down to the same speed with this crossbow. This is a 305 feet per second crossbow, again with a 350 grain arrow. This is not a modern speed, not a modern crossbow really, in my view. We're looking for 400 at 400-ish, right? Somewhere in that ballpark. This is nowhere near that. This is what I was shooting for a decade, and you can kill deer with this, right? It's gonna get the job done. It's got some improvements, and when we look at smaller, denser, faster, lighter, cheaper, this is not faster, but it is smaller, right? It is smaller. It's also lighter. It's lighter, but it's mostly made out of the poly, you know, that kind of thing. Which, you know, Bunjie has an aluminum rail. That's one of the earlier models of that Axiom. Later on, they went to that synthetic mainframe, right? And this is the synthetic mainframe I'm talking about. It is made out of carbon or plastic or something, but, you know, it gets a bad rap, I think, from a lot of people. I would rather have that aluminum rail, but that aluminum rail is going to add some weight. But that aluminum rail also maintains accuracy in any kind of temperature differences. I've hunted and shot that thing below zero, and I shot a deer with that. It was 100 degrees out down in Maryland in the early season one year. Accurate both ways, right? Accurate, doesn't matter. That's one of the advantages. So this one, it does have some advantages in terms of size, right? Broadhead sticks out past the stirrup. What's the deal? What's the deal? I don't like that, but it's one of the problems with smaller, right? You can only get the arrow so short to be legal and to be effective, and the crossbow now is so short that needs a bigger stirrup, I think. You put a swahacker on there, you got a problem. So that's what we got from Excalibur. Now, there are certain companies we're simply not going to look at. We're not going to look at Raven. Back in 2010, there was no Raven. So we're not looking at Raven. We have 10 Point was a company back then, but 10 Point we've already looked at, did 2 videos on the new 10 Point offerings, and none of those are going to be in our price range as far as that $759 is concerned. We can, however, look at an offshoot of 10 Point, Wicked Ridge. How about that? So we'll go to Wicked Ridge Rossbows, Goodrich. And we'll look at that. We'll click on their website. The best affordable crossbows. We'll see about that. We'll see about that, won't we? Got a crossbow right there. You can't even tell where the crossbow is. Notice how they specifically got a darker camo pattern for this picture, I'm betting, to make that crossbow stand out a little bit. That's good photography. I like that. But let's scroll down here a little bit and look at the price of these bad boys, right? We could go to shop. Well, maybe it's on the main page here. What do we got? What do we got? We'll go to shop. Let's shop. Wicked Ridge. Come on, Wicked Ridge by 10 Point. Got crossbows, well, that's what we came here for. Which 10 Point is right for you? Cool. We'll start with the Wicked Ridge, the Fury, 1099. Nope. Wicked Ridge RDX 410. $8.99, no. Raider Decock, we made it. We found one. $7.49 is less than $7.59. It's in our budget. This is a Bungie era price for a Wicked Ridge crossbow. The third one down on the list. Look at this. We have a traditional style crossbow. Let's click on that bad boy and look at it. Now I see $7.49 to $8.99. We have to get a little clarification here. Little clarification. We can choose an option. Now if we go with a Decock, that's $900. That is not in our budget. So let's switch here. Let's go with the rope sled variety. So we lose the crank, right? The built-in crank, but we are at $749 for a crossbow that shoots 400 feet per second and does so with a 400 grain arrow. Big difference. Big difference. And you're probably thinking, Rich, it's only 50 grains. That doesn't mean anything. It means a lot. It means a lot in terms of energy, the life of the crossbow. It does mean a lot. So to me, I take that 400 grain arrow, put the 150 grain broadhead on there instead of the 100 grain, be up to 450, and you're right in a sweet spot for modern crossbows for arrow weight, for a lot of them. I would really, really research arrow weight because different brands are going to want different things. So make sure you pay attention to that. But that's my thinking. $750, and what do we get for $750? Is it smaller, faster, lighter, denser, cheaper? We're going to find out. And if we look right down here, wow, this is a neat looking crossbow. Let's look at it first. It has the traditional style, right? Comes back, very common 10-point style. It's got the two limbs. This is not a reverse draw, not a reverse limb crossbow. It draws right off the back of the cams, pulls back, nice long power stroke here to send your arrow down range. The arrow is nicely contained within this little foot stirrup type job. And in this case, I do think that would be called a foot stirrup. It's not a bow hanger. It's an actual foot stirrup because you're going to rope cock this one with your sled. So you put your sled cocker on there and do that. Nice foregrip here. It has finger guards. Bungie does not have finger guards. Doesn't have finger guards. So this is an improvement. This is part of denser. We're paying roughly the same price, but we have improvements. We've had improvements because it's faster. It's 100 feet per second faster. It's arguably a lot faster than it's like 120 feet per second faster because it's getting its speed with a 400 grain arrow. So it's a lot faster than that 2010 Bungie hanging on the wall behind me. Probably has an anti-dry fire of some sort. So it is an improvement in crossbow technology. This is what I'm talking about. You got to be patient. The crossbows that we're hunting with today are light years ahead of the crossbows that were available in 2010. And if you go ahead another 15 years or 10 years or 5 years, you will see these improvements trickle down and they'll be available to all of us. This one is 31 inches long, still has that long power stroke, but it's 31 inches long, and that is smaller. It is 19 inches wide. They're probably talking axle to axle uncocked. So it's really like 21 inches wide, but that's 36 inches wide. This is an improvement, right? It is smaller, both width and length. One other company we'll look at, let's look at Centerpoint. I haven't looked at Centerpoint nearly enough on this channel. You know, I do like Centerpoint, and I can tell you right now, they do have one that fits the bill. They do. They do have a crossbow that's in our $750 price point, $759. This is a mind-blowing one. I'm familiar with this one because I really like it. But we'll go right on here. Let's look at bows. We'll click on bows. Why do they call them bows? Come on, they're crossbows, right? Centerpoint actually does sell some recurves and stuff. We'll scroll down here a little bit. Recurve hunting bows. They still make those. Crossbows. Let's shop crossbows. I like shopping crossbows. That's a mean-looking crossbow right there. Mean-looking crossbow. That's the one I'm talking about, the Wrath 430. I was really interested in this crossbow. I've watched, I think, every video on YouTube about it. So already we see a ton of crossbows in that $759 range. I mean, they're half the price of that. You got a $300 crossbow shooting 405 feet per second, factory reconditioned. Look at the Wrath 430X, $599. Almost the same price as that 2010 Excalibur Axiom Bungie. The Wrath 430X, a crossbow that shoots 430 feet per second or so, right? Speeds up to 430 feet per second for $600. This crossbow is only a little bit more expensive than a Mag Air, the 305 feet per second crossbow from Excalibur that we looked at. That only shoots 305, right? This thing shoots over 400 feet per second, and it does so with a more realistic arrow weight, let's say, right? More realistic. Like you can get 450 grain arrow on this and probably be shooting real close to 400 feet per second, if not more than that. $599, well within our price range. We scroll down here. It is denser because it has dry fire prevention. 9 inches cocked, 13 inches uncocked. So it's probably 15 inches total uncocked from the outside of the cams or something like that. It's probably around 15 inches or so. So it's less than half the width of that crossbow. It is smaller. It is faster. It is cheaper because it's only $599, right? And this is arguably the flagship crossbow from Centerpoint. Now, they do have a couple options that are more expensive, I think. The thing weighs 9 pounds, and that's probably with the scope. So that's not what we mean by denser, by the way. It's supposed to be lighter, right? So it isn't really lighter than that crossbow. But when you start adding features, you do see that weight go up a little bit. The length is 32 inches, so it's 5.5 inches or so shorter than that crossbow. The draw weight, 200 pounds. That's not bad for a modern crossbow. When we look at the Rev X, will be speculating as to the draw weight. Modern crossbows have extremely high draw weights. So for $599, you've got a lot of improvement in terms of the quality of crossbows, the options that they offer, the improvements in technology available to us for almost the same price that I paid back in 2010. You have a whole new world of crossbows available, all this new technology, and we're very fortunate to have that. I really like what the manufacturers have done over this decade and a half, so to speak. Last but not least, we could look at Killer Instinct. We've done so. We've looked at Killer Instinct crossbows, but look no further than the Enforcer. This crossbow right here, the newest addition to the Death by Bungie family of crossbows. This crossbow is smaller yet, right? It is shorter and narrower. Weighs about 9 pounds, as you see it right here. Right around 9 pounds. I weighed it on that one video. This crossbow is definitely faster than the OB. Right now, this is $999, so it's outside our price range. But last fall, when I purchased it, you could get a coupon code, you could get a $100 rebate, and people were buying this crossbow, not the scope, but this crossbow with a scope, and just not this scope, for $619, right? A little bit more than that Wrath 430X from Centerpoint. That's pretty cool. I'm not sure that any of these modern crossbows are going to make it 15 years. Also not sure, as technology improves, that I would want to hunt with the same crossbow for 15 years. But nonetheless, all hail Bungie.